It's your girl, Nicole Banister, aka NIKKI BANZ, coming to you live from the sunny island nation of Cyprus. And this is NIKKI BANZ Live! What up, everybody? It is an absolute treat, an absolute pleasure to have you all here today. Thank you for tuning in every single Tuesday right here on NIKKI BANZ Live. You already know the vibes. Every single week, I am bringing you the most dynamic conversations with some of the most interesting and fascinating people in the world. Every single week is a different guest from a different country right here on NIKKI BANZ Live. It could be a rapper from Zambia. It could be an Olympic athlete from Nigeria. It could be a WNBA player from the United States. It could be an actor from South Africa. It don't matter where. All that matters is that you are a mover and shaker in your industry, and you're gonna come onto NIKKI BANZ Live and chop it up with me here. So today's guest is no exception. I am so incredibly excited to have the one and only Amanda, aka MarocMama, here with us today. She is an awesome content creator and entrepreneur who takes people from all over the world on the most incredible foodie and travel tours across Morocco. Although she is actually originally from the United States, she is living out her best American dream in Marrakech. And I cannot wait to talk to her more. So that's going to be coming on soon, everybody. I'm super stoked to have you all here. Tell me in the chat, where in the world are you coming to me from? What city are you in? What country are you in? Tell me now. I want to know. Like I said, I'm coming to you from Cyprus. If you're following me on Instagram, and if you're not following me, you need to follow me now, at They Call Me Bands. But if you've been following me on Instagram, you will see that the last couple of weeks I have been traveling across Greece and Cyprus. It's my annual Euro trip, party people. One of my best friends in the world lives here in Cyprus, so I'm here visiting her just like I did last year. But it was my first time in Greece. So that was phenomenal. It was really cool to be in a brand new country number 47 for me, and country number 6. Hosting NIKKI BANZ Live from some fabulous destination all over the world. Cyprus is now officially country number 7. So the show is international, baby. The show has always been international, and especially today, filming live from Cyprus, from my homegirl's living room. We are definitely international. All right, I see we got Mallory from Oregon. What's up, Oregon? What's up, girl? How you doing? I see we got Chrissy Anzwe from New York City. Hello. Welcome. I see you want to go to Greece soon. Yes, you should definitely come. I'll hopefully be posting a guide on Instagram about Greece and everything happening that I did here, so I'll be able to share that. I see we have Cicely M. Brooks Events from Philly. What's up, Philly? How you doing? It's so good to see all of you here. Thank you for tuning in to NIKKI BANZ Live. So, party people, before I go any further, I need to make a very special announcement. If you are not following what is happening in Iran right now, I need you to pay attention. I need you to get involved. So for those of you that don't know, 11 days ago, a 22-year-old woman named Mahsa Amini was murdered by police in Tehran for not wearing her hijab correctly. Okay, this has sparked crazy protests all over the country of Iran because it's a heinous sort of oppression of women's rights. It's a big time human rights violation. For a long time now in Iran, the people of Iran have been suffering under a very oppressive regime. This is important to me not only because I am half Iranian, but because this is a human rights and a women's rights issue globally. So if you are not following what's happening in Iran, I need you to look up the hashtag Mahsa Amini. I need you to start share on Instagram, keep spreading the word, keep hashtagging Mahsa Amini. This is very important because we need to get the word out. The internet has been cut out in Iran. So people from Iran are struggling to be able to share what's happening. Because of the uprisings, because young Iranians, men, women are standing together against this abuse against women and against this terror of the regime in Iran, there are hundreds of people being murdered every single day that we don't know about. So please pay attention. This is something that's very important. We need you to keep eyes on Iran. Once again, look up the hashtag Masa Amini, learn about what's happening in Iran, learn about the uprising, learn about the revolution happening. I need you guys to go and share this information. It's only when those of us around the world, in the United States, in Greece, in Cyprus, in South Africa, it's only when those of us put pressure on our governments, our people, to start making moves and to make this a big international issue, a huge human rights violation and women's rights violation, which it is that's the only way that things are going to change. We need a grassroots groundswell of support from people around the world. So please go share, please go post about Iran. Look, here on Nikki Banz Live, I've had so many guests from Iran, so many incredible people who have come on from Iran. And once again, half of my family is Iranian. So this is something that's not only important to me, but important to the world. So I stand in solidarity with the women and the people of Iran, and you should too. All right, everybody. That being said, you know, we got to keep it woke. We got to keep it active here on Nikki Banz Live. This is literally the whole point of this show, to be able to expose you to different perspectives, different cultures, people in different places around the world. If we don't understand what's happening in the rest of the world, then all those things have ripple effects on our day-to-day lives. Whether you think they do or not, I'm telling you, they do. So that's the whole point of this show, which is why I'm so grateful that you're rocking with me here today. My guest today is the one and only MarocMama from Morocco. Like I said, she's originally from the United States, but she started a super successful business and tourism and travel company across Morocco, where she gives the most amazing food tours along with her husband, and they have moved their whole family from the United States to Morocco. We're gonna learn all the ins and outs about how she got to Morocco, her Moroccan husband, all the things. And we're gonna learn about her entrepreneurial journey, her content creation, and I'm just super excited to talk to this woman. So I hope y'all are all ready. I'm super excited. This is the first guest that I've had representing Morocco, and I'm sure it'll be the first of many. So the time is now. You already know the vibes. I'm gonna get a little drum roll going because you know how I love my sound effects. And I'm gonna bring Amanda, aka MarocMama, on right now. Let's get it. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Let's get this party started. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm so well. Oh my God, your energy is just off the hook. I'm like, love it.
Yes, energy for days, all for you. I'm so grateful that you decided to be a guest on my show. I'm honored.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for asking me. And I've never been introduced in such a way. I feel like, who's this girl? Dang.
That's you, boo-boo. That's you. Oh my goodness. Well, Amanda, like I said, I'm so excited. This is going to be so much fun. And I always start off every episode of Nikki Banz Live by telling people how I know the guests who are on my show. So you and I have never met in person before. This is our first real conversation.
Yes.
Besides a few DMs on Instagram. But we do have a mutual friend, the one and only Veronica Smulders, aka
Yes.
of Trips and Tales. She was another one of my phenomenal guests on the show. She is this like super fun international traveler, and she does all this family content creation from Peru, based in Dubai. And so I was asking her, I was like, do you know anyone, any of your friends, anyone that you know who would be a great guest on the show? And she was like, you need to interview my friend Amanda. And I was like, okay,
Aww.
so here we are.
It's such a small world. Like, it's so big, and at the same time, like, it's so small.
Yes, exactly. And I find that like the more that you travel, the more that you meet new people, go to new conferences, go to new places, the world truly just gets smaller and smaller and
Yes.
smaller.
Yes. 100%. 100%.
Oh my gosh, definitely. And I have to give another shout out to another one of my previous guests who just tuned in, the one and only Yes Jamal, an amazing young content creator out of Zanzibar. What's up, Jamal? Good to have you here. And thank you everyone who's tuning in right now. I'm so glad to have you here. We're about to get this interview started with MarocMama. If you're not following her on Instagram yet, go to the top of your screen, click on that little white arrow in the middle of the screen, and you can follow Amanda on her Instagram page at MarocMama, and you can follow me at They Call Me Banz. Okay, I think I've done all the admin now. Oh my gosh. I feel like every time I I start one of these shows, I'm like, okay, I got to give the shout outs. I got to do this, I got to do that. So I'm like, okay, we golden. Now we can kickstart.
You're so good. You're so good.
Thank you, Amanda. So I have so many different questions to ask you because, I just think it's super interesting how you have basically uprooted and relocated your entire life and your entire family to Morocco, which is not something that the average American does. So, let's talk about it. Let's talk about your journey. Like, when was the first time that you discovered Morocco, and what was the feeling that you had when you went there or heard about it or learned about it for the first time?
Okay, so I feel like me and Morocco, there was something, I don't know, so just something in the cards that have always been there. So the first time I actually even heard of Morocco was from the Oprah show.
Oh, okay.
Which is wild. And I don't know if you remember, but way back in the day, she used to have like a book club. So she used to have a book club. And she had a book that was about a Moroccan woman named Malika Ofkir. And I was super, like, my background, I went to college, I studied political science. Like, I was always super interested in the world. I grew up in rural northern Michigan, like the whitest, most vanilla, most boring place. Like, nothing happened. Like, bears walked down the street. Like, that's the place I lived in. And I always was like, I gotta get out of here. So I like clung to all of that. And so I heard her story. I read her book. I was intrigued by Morocco. When I graduated high school, I have one younger sister, and my dad was like, I want to take you guys somewhere before you're both like out of the house. You pick where. You have to plan the trip together. You have to decide and agree together. But it can be anywhere you want. So after a lot of back and forth, like finally I was like, hey, okay, let's go to Morocco. And my sister was like, okay, fine, whatever. And my dad was like, I don't even know where that is. Like, what continent is that on? But he's like, fine, whatever. So that's where we went. So we went to Morocco. I was 19 years old.
Wow.
And we went on like a guided tour. It was the very early 2000s. So Morocco really didn't open up in any like the Morocco of today is nothing compared to the Morocco of like the early 2000s. Like, it just kind of started opening up in early 2000. People obviously went like in their whole hippie trail and whatever, but it was very, especially for English speaking people, it was still pretty raw. So we went on a tour and I met my husband. So I met my husband walking down the street in Morocco. Like, we ended up walking like there's a bit more to this story, but like the quick version is we ended up walking next to each other. I looked at him. The first thing I thought was, you're going to marry this guy. And we've been married like almost 20 years. So it happened.
What? Okay, I got to give you the club horn for that. You were like, that's the one right there. I love him. He loves me. The universe has ordained it.
Yeah. And that's it. And we were like, I didn't speak, like, I spoke like a half a semester of high school French, and he spoke 3 phrases of English. Like, that was it. And we figured it out. Like, we spent like, I don't know, like my dad was with, honestly, like my dad and my little sister and her best friend and my husband and me, right? Like, it was very chaperoned. Yeah, so we met, and then it was Christmas, it was New Year's Eve. He said, please come back, please come back. That was one of the phrases he knew. And I was like, okay. So I came back on spring break, because I was in college, and it was there like 4 hours, and he was like, he proposed. And I was like, yup, sounds good. Let's get married.
Oh my gosh. What a story.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. But you know what? When you know, you know.
Exactly. And honestly, like, I'm almost 40. We just sent our oldest son to college in the States. And now I'm like, do not do what I did. Like, 40-year-old me, I told my husband, like, you're really lucky, because like 40-year-old me would never have done this. Like, I would be way too afraid to have done this. But like, when you're 19, it's like, you're the one. I want to do this. I want you. You want me. All right, we're done.
Oh my gosh, Amanda, I'm like, have you ever watched 90 Day Fiance?
He was.
You were the original.
He was legitimately an original. He literally was a 90 Day Fiance. We did a K1 visa. I know the process inside and out. Like, except not as wild. Like, we're the normal couple.
Oh My gosh. Wow. Okay. So I knew that you two, I mean, from the research I had done, I knew that you and your husband had met like in Morocco. I did know that, but I didn't realize how quick it was and how young you were. But like,
Yeah.
you know what? I feel like these days we find it so difficult. Like us, we the youngins. I mean, I'm not that much younger than you, but like we the youngins feel like it's so hard to meet people who want to be on all these apps and all this stuff. And I'm like, do I just need to be walking down the street more? Do I need to get off my Instagram and just walk down the street? Is that where my husband is?
I mean, honestly, I think that's the easy part, right? Like the falling in love part, that's the easy part.
Yeah.
Right. The rest of it, that was the hard part. Like, so when people say like, what advice do you have? Or I met this person, or like, we really love each other. And I'm like, that's cool. But like the love part is like 20%. It's like work, right? Like 80% is the stuff you really don't want to do. And 20% is like the part you love.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like it takes a lot of work.
Absolutely. And I think it takes even more work when you're in an intercultural relationship. And that's something that, you know, I can relate to. My dad is Black American and my mom is from Iran. So, you know, I am a product of an intercultural relationship, mixed races, mixed nationalities. And it's really interesting to see the different perspectives that my mom brings and that my dad brings. So talk to me a little bit about what it was like for you over the past 20 years, being in an intercultural relationship and navigating, you know, what that means in the United States and overseas and in other places.
So, I mean, every day is a choice, right? Like every day is a choice to stay in that relationship. And I think that's okay. Anything, any culture has that. I think the biggest difference with marrying someone from another culture is you have so many innate, ingrained cultural expectations that you don't even realize until you're with somebody who's not from that culture. They're the things like you can talk about kids and you can talk about religion and you can talk about work and you can like all the, you know, the big, okay, we talked about this, we talked about this, we talked about this. But like you don't talk about like what are your expectations, what are your cultural expectations when you're pregnant? Like, what is it, the things that like you and your culture, like just expect your partner to do? But if your partner's not coming from that culture and you don't know to talk about it, obviously, because it's just something that's there and you don't think it's ever going to be an issue. Why would you ever think to talk about it until like you're in it and then you're just pissed off because why are you not doing these things that I expect you to do? And your partner's like, I don't know what you expect me to do because I have no idea what this means in your culture because it's not part of mine. And there's so many, like there's big things. Okay, that's obviously a big thing, but there's so many small things that, I mean, your parents, I'm sure, went through the same thing, but like those things, the things that you never talk about, they're the small things that like, that I think is what really takes a toll on culture, like intercultural relationships. And that if you don't learn how to communicate effectively and how to like navigate those are your major pitfalls.
I think what I'm hearing from you, Amanda, is that this communication piece is so critical because it's like, yeah, you can have expectations and your partner can have expectations, but if you don't communicate those things, then how are you going to know what the other one is expecting or anticipating or hoping for or needing? So it's like you need to have that open dialogue in order to make sure that both of you are on the same page and not unintentionally hurting one another or disrespecting one another or not meeting the other's expectations just because, like you said, you have no idea.
Right. And you have to also have a willingness to be like, okay, I think that's kind of crazy. Like, I don't understand that, but like, I'm willing to meet you halfway. Like, I'm willing to accept this. It's got to be like a give and take. There has to be give and take, which is, yes, any relationship, but in an intercultural relationship, if you don't have that, it's gonna sink. Like, it's not gonna work. Like, I mean, I know friends, for example, talking about like moving to Morocco. I have friends who have married people from other cultures, other countries, and they just refuse to ever let their children go there. Like, they're just like, wow. I would never let my husband take my child to that country. And I'm like, then you probably shouldn't be married to them. Like, if you don't trust your partner to take your child to their home country, then there's clearly something very amiss, like with your trust with your partner, with, you know, their family. Like, you can't withhold that from
Right.
someone. That's not fair.
Right.
And that was, I mean, one of the very first conversations we had was about where we would live, how that would look, what that would look like. It's partially how we ended up in Morocco. Like, I always knew I wanted to live somewhere else. And like together, we always talked about, my husband never wanted to live in the US. So that was always, people were always like, oh, he's using you for a green card and he's going to get there and divorce you and da, 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 da. Like, you know, that conversation.
Sure.
But I was like, he never wanted to live in the US. And so part of it was an agreement that, okay, eventually we'll live in Morocco. Like, eventually we will go back to Morocco because we wanted it was really important our kids learned Arabic. It was important to me that they did. I didn't want them to not have a relationship with his family because they couldn't talk to them. Like, that, I had such a close relationship to my grandparents that to think of my kids not having that with his family and with my family, I couldn't even imagine that. Like, it was just not even something I could take from them. And I knew they wouldn't learn Arabic in the US. Like, it just wasn't going to happen. Maybe Spanish, but Arabic, no, it wasn't in 2003. Nah, it wasn't going to happen.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Just no. So that was part of our agreement. Like, we talked about it. Yes, we want to eventually do this. And we did. Like, eventually, like, I won't give all of it away, but yeah, eventually we decided that we were going to move to the US, or to Morocco. Sorry.
I think that's so beautiful, Amanda, truly. And just this concept of the give and take, I think is really, really important, and one that I think a lot more people need to be having that conversation. It's a conversation to be had about relationships, not even just romantic relationships, but also about friendships that are interfaith or intercultural, or, you know, international. It's like, you can't expect people to have the exact same mannerisms and lifestyles and things as you. And so learning more about them, you sharing a little bit of yourself, and that give and take, and being willing to say, okay, I will meet you halfway because this is something that's important to you. You know, being able to put your ego aside and everything aside to say, you know, you're someone that I care about, so I'm going to make that effort. I think that's really important in a conversation that more of us need to be having, especially in the United States.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There has been very, very few things where I'm like, nope, I'm not having this conversation. Like, there's like, my kids' education was one thing where I was like, nope, this is a non-negotiable. Like, I have a very clear idea of what I want for that. And, you know, that just took a little coaxing. I think there's like, in my big fat Greek wedding, where the woman's like, he might be the head, but I'm the neck.
Yeah.
I'm the head and the neck sometimes, but mostly the neck.
Oh my gosh, that is too funny. So talk to us about actually getting to Morocco and what that was like for you. I mean, leaving the United States and living full time in an entirely new country, new culture, also with a partner, also starting a family, also starting a business. Talk to us about that.
That's a lot. Yeah. Okay. So my kids were so I have 3 kids, and my older kids were 6 and 8. They were 5 and 7 when we decided to move, and they were 6 and 8 when we actually moved. So we always knew that we wanted to move to Morocco. It was never like we wanted to wait until my husband had his American citizenship, because it just made moving a lot easier, and going to Europe and going back and forth and not having the legal headaches of just having his residency. And then as the kids got older, we were just really not in a position to go back, because we were like, well, what would we do? You know, jobs are not super plentiful in Morocco. And so just like the things were never really in the cards until like, so when they turned 5 and 7, I was like, look, I was working online at the time for an online PR company. I said, if we don't go soon, we're not going to go. Like, they're going to be too old, and this is going to be too hard. So I think that we could make this work. We could budget to make it work for a year. We go for a year. Mind you, I was 28 at the time. So like a little bit optimistic, but yeah. So I was like, we'll go for a year. They'll learn Arabic, and then we'll go back to the US. Like, they were going to become fluent in Arabic and French in 1 year living in Morocco. That was our
that was the goal. 1
year,
yeah. Boom, done.
Their kids are sponges, right? Like, that's what people said. So we're like, okay, we can make this work. So we put all of our things in storage. We were only renting an apartment at the time. So we put our things in storage, told my family we're going for a year. My mom and my dad, they were supportive. My grandparents were like much less supportive of this idea, but like understood. And they were like, oh, it's only for a year. Okay, it's only for a year. And that's it. So we got on a plane with 8 suitcases and shipped like six boxes, like 6 big like container boxes to Morocco. And we were like, here we go. We're going to live in Morocco.
We're going to Morocco.
Yeah. And like 6 months into that move, we were like, the kids are not going to be fluent in Arabic in a year. Like, this is not going to happen.
Right.
So let's just plan for 1 more year. So we're like, so we extend for a year. In that time, so I had my website, and I started doing food. Like, I started my website really doing food. I adapted a lot of Moroccan recipes for an American kitchen. For the ingredients you could get, like now you can get everything, but 20 years ago it was a different story.
Sure.
And I started doing a lot more travel, and I got more involved, and people were asking me all the time, like, where can I go and eat in Marrakech? Like, we really want, or we'd see people out and I'd be like, oh, if you only went like 1 street further, you'd have like way better options or whatever. But I don't know. If you know anything about Marrakech, it's a maze. Like, I can't give you an address. I can't tell you the name of these places. Like, you are not going to find it. It's just not going to happen. So I had done a food tour in Madrid, and I told my husband, I was like, look, I think we can do this here. Like, I can't tell people where to go, but I could take them there. And like, my online job is good, but like, if we want to make this like last, we're going to have to figure out something else. And we really didn't have the like money or capital to sink into like storefront or something else. So I'm like, we got to find a way to do this with like no startup costs, or like very low startup costs. He was like, you're just kind of weird. Like, people are not like you. Like, people don't go on vacation and like just look at where to go and eat. Like, you do that, but people don't. And I was like, I think you're wrong. I think a lot of people do this, and I think it could work, and it's not going to cost us any money. I'll build a website. I knew how to, like, I had run my website, so I knew basically how to do that. I said, it won't cost us anything. We'll take reservations and payments in advance, and we'll just like go out and we'll meet cool people too. Like, we love meeting people from other places, so it'll give us a chance to do that. I said, the only thing we have to do is find the places, and it's just time. We have to put some time into that. And he was like, okay, but I still think I'm right and you're wrong. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I was right, and he was wrong. So I launched it it took us like 3 months to get it set up, and within a couple days, I had linked it to one of my more popular posts about eating in Marrakech and told people we were starting to offer this. And like, within a couple days, we got bookings. Like, they started coming in. And at first it was like, okay, a couple a week. And then it was like 2 or 3 couples a week. And then like, it started to be more and more and more. And in the beginning, he's like, this is your mom, isn't it? This is your mom doing this. I'm like, no, these are real people. Like, these are real people. These are real people. Like, my mom's real too, but like, real strangers. These are people that want to do this. And then it grew, just grew from there. And we started offering other cities, and we brought on, a team of guides, and like, we were doing really well. And then COVID happened.
Yes. Yeah.
The bottom fell out there, but we are not alone. And thank God, like, things are, Morocco's back to life, and things are well again. And we are very happy that we built a strong business and are able to like bounce back from it. But that's how it all started.
Wow.
And it's been 10 years.
Yeah. And it's like something so simple, right? It's like when people come to Morocco, we just want to eat at authentic places and want to be able to show them the authentic spots that like Moroccans would actually eat at, not just the tourist traps, which is like there's a lot of people who travel overseas and they like the tourist traps. That's cool. Like, no shade to them. Yeah. But there's a lot of people who want a more authentic experience. And so you're just like, we're actually just going to take people around. And what I think is interesting is that I feel like in the sort of blogger content creation kind of world, there's kind of like 2 schools, right? You've got the people who have their own websites their own articles, their own blogs, their own businesses that operate through their own platforms versus the people who write for other platforms like Medium, or they host experiences through like Airbnb experiences like that today. Why would you recommend or advocate for sort of having your own platform, your own website where you run everything and manage everything? Do you think that makes a difference?
I mean, I think it really depends on the person. It's kind of like, I don't know, have you seen, so my son just went to college, and like entrepreneurship is a major now. And I'm like, it's like it's an oxymoron. Like, you can't teach people how to be an entrepreneur. Like, that's something that you either do or you don't. And so I think like, I've done the freelance, I've done my own site, I've run my business, I've done like every jam that there is, like I've tried it. And for me, this just made sense because I own it and I control it. And maybe I'm a bit of a control freak in that sense, but like, I can pivot, I can adjust, I can plan for, I'm going to be away for 3 months. Like, we're going to the States for 3 months. I can do that when it's my business, and I don't have to worry about other people's timelines, other people's deadlines. I can plan, I control it. And I can adjust to the changes that I see in the market, right? Like, I'm not waiting for an editor to get me something. I'm not like just like pitching nonstop. I'm not like, I get to control. If I want to start a new tour, I start a new tour. You know, I love having that freedom. Like, for me to think about going back to a corporate, like day-to-day job, I can't. Like, I cannot imagine it. I know I cannot do it. Like,
back.
No. And like, granted, during COVID, I had to pick up some more like freelance work because it was Morocco. It was really hard for us in Morocco. And I did it because like I had to, but I'm like, I have like zero joy in this. Like, I am doing this because it's paying the bills, but that is it. Like, I never want to do this again.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good like learning and a lesson learned to share with folks, because it's like, okay, when times get tough, sure, we can go back to the freelancing or the contract work or whatever, but to actually have your own thing, if that's something that works for you, something that brings you joy, something that can pay your bills and support your family, then why not have it be sort of your own of your own volition, and have it be something that you own and operate, which I think that truly is, you know, the entrepreneurial spirit, which is why you've been able to build the brand that you have. So I'm curious on that point, because you have also sort of moved into the world now of content creation, right? You have a very sizable following on Instagram, on other platforms as well. And, you know, content creation is not the same as blogging. It's not the same as having an actual business where you're moving people around and showing people around. What has the journey to content creation been like for you?
Yeah, so this is interesting because I've always like looked at what like my Instagram specifically, and I don't know when I like consciously made the choice to really kind of focus here. I think just because I liked it, honestly. Like, I don't really like Facebook. I don't really like TikTok. I mean, who knows? I could change my mind, but like, I like being here because I've just built such really nice, lovely relationships. I've been able to connect with people in like such a like very strong way. There's so many people here that I've never met, but like, they're my friends. Like, if I was in your city, I would want to come and meet you. Like, I would, if you were in my city, like, I would want you to come and say hey to me. Like, and I love that about it. And it's a way to share my life. And I chose to focus specifically on Morocco, because most of my what I do is just Morocco focused, because I don't know, if you look at Instagram and you look at Morocco, it's like, oh my God, that's so lovely. Oh my God, that's amazing. It must be like living in a Riyadh all the time. It must be like, so dreamy. And I'm like, yeah, it is, but it's also not. Like, I also have to go throw my garbage in the dumpster. And there's also like a wedding that's happening until 4 o'clock in the morning. And I want to show people that it is beautiful and it is wonderful, but it's also like, I still live my life like you live your life wherever you are, right? And I want to show people that real side, and like, just for people to understand that it's not all shiny, right?
Yes.
And that's everywhere. It's not just Morocco, but do it in a way that's not derogatory, I guess, but in a way that's like, this is what it really is. This is just what it is.
That's a super interesting point, Amanda, because I think, you know, at any point, if you are, if you're American, let's be straight up. If you're American going to another country, that comes with an inherent privilege, right? There's
Yep.
an inherent, we have
100%.
passport privilege, we have US dollar exchange rate privilege. There's so many privileges that come with us being Americans, navigating to different places and spaces, and even being able to move and relocate in a different country, right? As opposed to some other people from some other places. How do you navigate and how do you balance ensuring that when you're in Morocco, when you're sharing about Marrakech, that you are giving you're giving a voice and agency to Moroccan people,
Sure.
to the companies that you partner with? How do you ensure that you're doing that and sort of not always centering yourself, but centering the Moroccan culture and people?
Sure. So if you like on my Instagram, you'll very rarely see me. Like there's not.
I noticed that. I was trying to post pictures of you and I had to search. So I noticed that.
And that's because it's not about me. Like, yeah, I'm trying to be here and share, but like I want this place. I want you to know about this place and this food. And especially the food. Like that's really important to me. But
yeah.
I mean, I think it helps that my kids are Moroccan, right? Like I'm not just othering this place, like my kids are of this place. And so that, not that you shouldn't do that for everywhere. Like I try to be very respectful whenever I travel of giving people the chance to tell their own stories if they want to, and not just sharing pictures of people. Like you won't even see many pictures of people on my feed because that feels like to me, it feels like taking something from people. Like unless they've given their consent to me, I don't want to take that from them. Especially children. Oh, that's my big pet peeve is taking pictures of kids.
No. Big no.
So just, you know, giving that consent and always like making sure that I'm trying to tell their stories. It's having conversations with people, like being able to speak Darija now helps a lot, like speaking Moroccan Arabic, because I can get deeper with people to know their stories and then be able to share those stories if they give me permission to share that. And that's something we really tried to do, especially during COVID. You know, we raised a lot of funds for artisans in Marrakech who really suffered during the lockdown. And just trying to always give back. Like with our food tours, I try to only focus on Moroccans. We hire Moroccan guides. We work with Moroccan vendors. We try to pay as much as we possibly can for the services rendered, right? Like we don't get discounts. They don't do freebies. Like, that's not part of my business model. Like it's about building the community, and I want to give back and make sure that I'm just a vehicle and that they are the ones that are being able to tell their own stories and share their own culture.
Thank you for sharing that, Amanda, because I think that's one of the biggest questions that comes up. Even for myself as an American traveling, living in South Africa, living in other places, I think it's really important to, you know, remember that we're not the center of the universe as America would have us believe. We're not the center of the world. And, you know, highlighting and uplifting the people who actually are there, are doing the work, and investing in them as much as we can is absolutely critical. And I saw that somebody here, Carrie Ann Livingston, was sharing that you spearheaded a fundraising movement to support local artisans and like got a lot of people involved. So it's really all about community. And I think that's so important. I can like even reflect on myself. One of the things that I did during the big sort of Black Lives Matter civil rights movement that happened in the US over the past couple of years was I started highlighting Black-owned businesses in Cape Town in South Africa. And again, just being a guide, just being a vessel, just saying, you know what, these are all the businesses that I know of and that I found, go support them, go invest in them.
Right.
And sort of bridging that gap and really trying to ensure that the South Africans who were doing the work, having these amazing businesses, that I could just be a voice, an amplifier, really, for all the good work that they're already doing. It sounds like you're doing something similar, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And I think just having that awareness, right? Like, I know I will never be Moroccan. Like, I am not. I completely recognize that, nor do I want to ever pretend that I am. Like, I'm very clear that this is not what my identity is, right? Like, I am here. I am not Moroccan. I also am not there to just take from the country, right? Like, that's another thing of I think a lot of expats deal with is like, I try to give back as much as I take, if not more, right? Like I want to give as much as I can and not take. And just, I think honestly, just being aware of that is a huge thing that a lot of people who live in other countries, I even struggle with the word expat because I'm not an expat. I'm an immigrant. Like I am an immigrant to Morocco.
I wasn't going to ask you about it, but I thought about asking you about it. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah. I mean, I am an immigrant. I chose to live there. I applied, just like my husband was an immigrant to the US. I am an immigrant to Morocco. Full stop.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I too struggle with the word expat. And it's a conversation I have with my friends often. Like, just because I'm American living overseas, does that make me an expat? I feel like the word expat is so classist. It's so based on a certain type of job and a certain type of nationality. Who gets called an expat versus an immigrant versus a migrant. So yeah, so I too very much consider myself a migrant to South Africa because because the word expat is so loaded. So I'm glad that you brought that up because I think these are the conversations that people, I think, traveling overseas, integrating into new cultures and communities and then amplifying them, those are the real conversations that we need to have to create more equitable dialogue and dynamics with our international peers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just like talking about it, I mean, how many people talk about it? They don't talk about it. Like,
I know. Who's talking about it? We're talking about it.
Yeah.
Maybe this will go viral and then everyone will start talking about it.
Good.
So I think what I would love to ask you, Amanda, because I think, all the dialogue that we've been having has been so much fun, but I think what you're doing as a travel blogger, as a businesswoman is really, really cool. And I think a lot of people would want to follow in your footsteps. So do you have, what advice do you normally share with people who are saying, I also am in love with a culture, in love with a place, I want to go share it, whether it's through tours or through writing, like what advice would you give to people who want to do something similar, start a business in a new place and sort of amplify that culture? Sure. What would you share with them?
First, I'd say it's really hard. Like, know that you got to be really willing to put work in. Like, it might look like what you see on the surface is only like 1% of what goes on behind the scenes. Like, be ready to put the work in. The second thing I would think is listen more than you talk before you do anything, because I don't know. I see a lot of people who move places and they've been there for a month and they're like, I'm an expert. And I'm like, girl, you've been there for a month. You are not an expert.
You are still a tourist.
Yeah, don't position yourself that way just yet.
Right.
And, I mean, I always too, like, look for opportunities where I'm like, are there other people who are like, are there locals here who are doing this that I could support or partner with or are already doing this or support in some way? Or is this something that I'm bringing in? And if I'm bringing in something new, like how can I best work with the people who are here and know this? Like, if I didn't have my husband, it would have been a lot harder. Like, definitely he helped me in a lot of ways. I mean, just knowing myself, like, I would have done it, but it would have been a lot harder.
Yeah.
Ready for that. And then also just like find the thing that really fulfills you. Like, what is this something that you really love and you really enjoy? Because you're going to be doing this day in and day out and day in and day out. So you better really like it, because otherwise it's not going to go so well. And then my last bit of advice would be really look for the gaps, right? Like, that's a general entrepreneur mindset, but like, look for the gaps in the market and start small. Like, it doesn't have to be something big. I think that's a problem that a lot of people run into that I talk to. They're like, I want to open this giant thing, and like, it's going to cost me €500,000, €500,000 investment down front. And I need investors and I need this and I need this. I'm like, okay, well, I started my business with $50. So you don't need that. Like, if you don't have that, like, start with something that's manageable so that you don't get yourself, like, when it fails, because it might fail fast, don't lose your shirt, and reinvent and go again and keep going, because you're going to have to fail, and 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 that's okay. and that's okay. You just have to keep re-envisioning. It wasn't right, and when it's right, it will click, and then go with it.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I just everything you've just shared, that list. I'm like, are y'all taking notes? All 20 of you here on this Instagram live, everybody watching the rerun on YouTube, are you taking notes? Because you should be. Okay. Which actually is a good segue for me to say, look, y'all, if you're not following Amanda yet on Instagram, please do so right now. Go to the top of your screen, click the little arrow in the middle, go follow MarocMama, and you can follow me at They Call Me Banz. And you can continue to follow Amanda's incredible journey across Morocco and the world, all of your entrepreneurial pursuits, your Marrakech Food Tours. I mean, I just think it's really, really cool to see the dynamism of your page and what you're doing and how you've been able to create an entire life for yourself, for your family, like for your business, alongside your partner. It's a very fun and inspiring story to see. And I think we have about 15 minutes left here on the live. I'll go ahead and say that if anyone has questions for Amanda, please type them below. So don't put them in the comment box. If you go to the right-hand corner of your screen, there's a little thought bubble with a question mark. Click on that and you can type your questions there. Sometimes in the chat, people are joining, it goes by too fast. So once again, go to the right-hand corner of your screen, a little thought bubble with a question mark in it, click that, and you can ask Amanda any question you'd like. And then I'll be able to ask those to her and follow up. Yes, and I see that a lot of people are commenting on what you shared. Ayushma is saying such solid advice for business. I see that Sigma 2014 is saying in jobs for local people, encouraging the local economy, investing in people who are already doing it. That's so great, which is so important. So yes, any questions for Amanda, type those. And so I think as I come to sort of the close of my line of questioning before we take some questions from the fans, I'll just ask, like, talk to us about what's coming up on the horizon. Like, what can we look forward to? What is coming up for you, for your family, for your business, so that we can continue to support all of your efforts?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are like, okay, so I don't know if you know, Morocco had 2 lockdowns, and we just got out of a second lockdown in March. Okay. And summer is always like the slow time of year for us. Like, summer's our low season, which might surprise some people, but it's just because it's like really freaking hot in Marrakech. So we're just like really restarting our business, and we're getting things, off the ground again. But we have plans to hopefully expand to a couple new cities in the next year. Those tours are in the works, and we are doing custom food tours and some group tours. So if you are at all interested in any of that, hit me up. And I did do, before COVID, I was doing momcations, which are like actual vacations for moms where you can come to Morocco and like not have to feed people and get breakfast in bed and do the things you want to do. So I will hopefully be launching dates for another set of those, but all of that is custom. So if you ever want to come and do a food tour, do a mom trip, whatever, just let me know, and I'm happy to help you plan that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. It's like, I love that you're expanding to different cities. That's super exciting. So we'll make sure we keep an eye out for that. And then these like mom vacations, I'm like, yes. I'm like, I'm not a mom, but I'm gonna find out my mom friends and send them. I'll send my mom.
Perfect. Bring her.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was gonna say, so I've been to Morocco twice before. Okay. Been to Marrakech, been to Casablanca, been to Rabat. And I'll actually be back in November for almost all of November. So if you are around, I am seeing a little link up happening in real life.
I will be. Early November, I'll be there. I'm going to Thailand in the middle of November for a conference that I'm speaking at, but I will be there in the beginning.
Okay, perfect. Done. It's happening. We'll be meeting up. We'll go live in the same place, in the same room.
Definitely. Love it.
Oh my gosh, I love that too. I'm here for it. So, okay. And just remind us once again, give us all of your handles, all the platforms, your website,
Yep.
give us all that stuff so everybody can follow and stay connected. And then after that, I see that the questions are coming into our little question box. So I'm going to ask you some of those. Keep the questions coming, party people. We still have 10 minutes left of the live. I can ask all those questions. But yes, please, Amanda, give us all of your plugs, all of your shout outs, all of your pages.
Well, it's pretty streamlined. So it's at MarocMama, MarocMama.com. Simple. Instagram at MarocMama, MarocMama.com. And then at Marrakech Food Tours and MarrakechFoodTours.com. Very simple.
There we go.
Kept it as easy as possible.
Yeah, you're like, MarocMama, I've trademarked it, I've copyrighted it, it's mine.
Seriously.
Any platform, like Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube, doesn't
all
matter.
places.
It's all mine.
It's me. Yep. You'll find it.
I love that. I love that. At MarocMama. Once again, you can go to the top of your screen, click the little arrow in the middle at the top of the screen. You'll be able to follow Amanda at MarocMama. You'll be able to follow me at They Call Me Banz and continue the journey even beyond this wonderful live that we're on right now. Okay, so we have a couple questions coming in. Once again, if you have a question, go to the right-hand corner of the screen, click on the thought bubble with the question mark in it, and you'll be able to ask Amanda a question. So I have two questions in here right now. One is from Ayushma, who is asking, and I think this is a great question. They're asking, how friendly is Moroccan cuisine for plant-based folks? So for all of our vegetarian friends, how friendly is Moroccan food?
So the basic Moroccan food, like traditional Moroccan food, is very vegetarian friendly. Where you run into some issues is that there is a perception that tourists want to eat meat, and that like if you feed somebody, like if you fed somebody, like somebody came to your house and you fed them like lentils or you fed them like beans or like a vegetarian dish, they'd be like, wow, you're cheap. Like you it's like, you know, and I think you find that in Spain, you find it in Italy, like those are the people who don't have a low income, like that's what you eat. So you wouldn't feed that to guests. So why would you want that in a restaurant?
Interesting.
However, that is changing. Like, I think definitely in the last 4 or 5 years, you've seen like people start to understand, what does it mean to be vegetarian? What does it mean to be vegan-ish? Before it was like, oh, it's vegetarian. There's just chicken in it. Don't worry.
Yeah. There's chicken.
There's chicken.
That's fine. It's just fish.
Vegetarian.
It's okay.
Yeah. But like you can totally do that, and like pretty much all of our tours are vegetarian. I like vegetarian. I can do vegan. We can do gluten-free. Like we try to cater to everyone, and I think that you are seeing definitely like a change in people doing that, and even Moroccan people that are starting to kind of go back to that and see that as like it's okay to eat vegetarian and it's okay to like have a different have those different dietary styles.
Okay, well, Ayushma, I hope that answered your question, that there's plenty of fabulous veggie Moroccan food, so start planning your trip to Morocco. Yeah. And I'm seeing I'm seeing two fun comments here. One from Mallory saying, yes, I've run into that a lot. I really do just want to eat beans. I feel you on that. Sometimes I'm like, just give me some rice and beans. I'll be good, honestly. Give me the seasoning. And then I see Mr. Bueno and Jake Bueno de Mesquita is saying, bring on the vegan movement. Lentils are my favorite food too. I like that. And then, Ayushma is saying that they're just even more excited to visit Morocco now. So now you've got an excellent tour guide at your disposal, Ayushma, to show you the ropes around Marrakech. Mm-hmm. I love that. Okay, so the other question I have for you here, Amanda, is from my fabulous mother, who tunes into every single one of my lives.
Who's coming to Morocco.
Hello, Dad. They'll also be with me in Morocco, so maybe you'll meet the whole family.
Oh, Mom. I'll give her my kitchen if she'll cook me something Persian.
Ooh, yes, exactly. We can talk all things intercultural families.
Love it. Yes, you're welcome.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm already so excited for that. Okay, so my mom is asking, what's the most interesting thing, people, or place that you have found since living in Morocco?
Oh, that is a good question. Okay, so I think the most interesting trip that we took was we went to the very far east of Morocco near the Algerian border. and to a town called Oujda, which not a lot of people ever go. Like we really like felt like we were the only people that weren't from Oujda. My husband's Moroccan, but like I was like, okay, I'm the only one here.
Yeah.
But it was just really fascinating because it's kind of like geographically cut off a bit from the rest of Morocco. It was just really cool to see the things that were the same and the things that were different, like, and the different ways that people dressed, and not so much different, but like the different foods that they had. And, it was just like very, almost like going to another country. So that was real. And we took the overnight train that way, which was also a really cool kind of experience that I don't think a lot of people have. So if you want to go like really off the beaten path in Morocco, if you're that kind of traveler, like take the overnight train from Casablanca to Oujda, and then we rented a car in Oujda and we drove north, and we drove the entire Mediterranean coast of Morocco.
Wow.
So this was when Morocco was still like, we could travel in Morocco, but no tourists were, like, no foreign people were allowed in yet. The borders were still closed. So we're like, let's just plan the like most outrageous trip we could take in Morocco because we can't go anywhere else.
Right.
And then let's do it now when there's like nobody else here.
Wow.
And so it was like really cool to see. And also like, look, the south of France is great. The Italian Riviera is great, but if you go to the Moroccan Mediterranean coast, which is the same Mediterranean Sea, with the same cliffs and the same gorgeous water, and like a tenth of the number of people.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you say it? Oujda?
Oujda. Yeah.
Oujda. All right, y'all. We go to Oujda. Let's go. We're gonna drive that Mediterranean coast. I mean, I'm here in Cyprus right now. I'm surrounded by the Mediterranean. It is stunning. So I can only imagine that gorgeous drive along the coast of Morocco.
Exactly. Yeah. Same thing. Same water. Come on over.
Oh, okay. I was reading some like insider scoop here, like some off the beaten path kind of insights. Thank you, Amanda. We all feel so much more like educated now. And I see that Blah Blah City Tours is saying, thank you for sharing your experience traveling in Morocco. So yes, a lot of gratitude here today for your experiences. So those are the only questions that we had from people here today. So I think just to close out the interview, Amanda, any final thoughts, final comments, anything that you'd like to share here before we close out on NIKKI BANZ Live?
I think like the culmination of my life is just take the chance. Like, you know what? And I think so many people could just benefit from it. Just don't overthink it. Just do it. And you only have one life. So go live it.
Yes. Go live it. Go marry that guy you love.
Go do it.
On the street in 19. Go move to that country you always wanted to move to. Go start that business. Just do it. Yes. Yep. I love that advice. And I'm so glad that you shared it. And I'm truly so grateful that you shared your story with us here today. It's always so interesting to learn about people running their own businesses and living their best lives and finding their passion. Even your TEDx talk that you did about your version of the American dream and how you found it in Morocco is just such a good perspective for so many people and for so many of us. So thank you, Amanda. We support you fully. We're following you on Instagram. We're following you on YouTube, on all the things. And I just cannot wait to, one, to meet you in person in November. Right? And also just to continue following your journey. This was truly lovely.
Oh, thank you so much, Nikki. And I'm going to hold you to that. I will see you in November, and I'll see you too, Mom.
Yes. We're all coming. It's happening. I'll slide. We're gonna move from DMs to like WhatsApp. We're gonna become like official.
Oh, with that level now. Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you everybody who's here today for tuning in to this interview here on NIKKI BANZ Live with the one and only MarocMama. I am here every single Tuesday with another phenomenal guest from a different country around the world. So please follow me on Instagram @TheyCallMeBanz, and you'll be able to tune in every single Tuesday to these incredible interviews from movers and shakers all over the world, just like Amanda, aka MarocMama. So thank you, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. And I'll see you next Tuesday right here on NIKKI BANZ Live. Bye. Bye.